Good morning. My name is Holly Kolf. I'm the chairman for the 33rd annual Spring Garden Tour. I'd like to thank Scenic Cities Beautiful for sponsoring this year's tour. Unfortunately, we couldn't do a live tour in June as we planned, so we are doing a virtual tour instead, and we've selected several gardens that we're going to video for the tour. We're working on the videos right now. I'd like to introduce you to our latest gardener, Patsy Boles, who happens to be a master gardener. And how long have you been a master gardener, Patsy?
I'm working on year 26.
Wow.
I'm a past president of the Hamilton County Master Gardeners and treasurer, and of course, as Holly knows, a past chairman of the garden tour.
You've been on the garden tour before.
Yes.
With your garden.
My garden was on the tour in 2011.
And you said you've lived here since 2006?
Yes.
So you've had 14 years to make it look like it is right now. Tell us what it looked like before, when you moved in.
When we moved in here, this was just a flat piece of chert. We had it filled in so that we could have the home placed on the top of it. So I actually had a blank slate when I started gardening here. I started out with a number of pass-along plants where people shared pieces of what they had with me. And of course, sometimes those take over and you have to replace them with something else. And as I said, probably before, gardeners don't move the furniture in their house, they move the plants in their yard. And one of my favorite sayings about gardening is that you have to have your feet in the dirt so your eyes are on the garden, or you won't see what bugs have moved in, or what plant needs to be watered, or what plant doesn't like the spot that you put it. As master gardeners, we say right place, right plant, because it won't work otherwise.
Right. You talked about your walls too. You said you built your own walls?
All of the flower bed walls I built out of mountain stone, and they're stacked. They don't have any mortar in them, they're just stacked in place. And then all of the trim along my zoysia grass is river rock, and I say it's a Patsy made jigsaw puzzle. I just make it as I go, and whatever rock fits in the place, it goes there, and I just work along the way till they all fit.
Well, I admire your effort to get all of this stuff done. This is a lot of work, and it's very beautiful.
Well, as you all know, we've been kind of contained at home right now, so I've had more time than usual to work on the things in my garden.
Thank you for allowing us to do this tour of your garden, and I'm anxious to see everything you have here.
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Moved to this property in 2006, and I had a blank slate when I first started out. There was nothing here but a bunch of chert. So I have improved it over the years. All of the short rock walls you see I built, and all of the stonework that's laying on the ground I built. This plant here is called Cupia, or cigar plant, and that one is a perennial. And then we have a small yarrow that's red. It's not blooming much right now. And we're underneath the Jane magnolia, which has a few blooms on it for the wrong kind of the year, but they're there. And then we have a large butterfly weed here, which of course is for our monarch butterflies. And my stonework here was inspired by some that Mary Weaver and I saw at the International Conference in Portland, where they had laid things in different colors. And then the pink petunias are called bubblegum. And they, of course, are an annual. And then we have all of these yellow ones are perennials. And several years ago I started planting different kinds of lilies. These, of course, are the tiger lily. And here in the front we have some yellow coreopsis, thread coreopsis. And cute little weed right next to it. Then we have different kinds of phlox. They all have names, but I don't remember their names. And then several years ago I started planting the lilies. Mixed in with them we have Gara, which looks like little butterflies. Some of the lilies are quite striking, and the white one up there looks like Easter. And the total wall has the bubblegum petunias. They're just about to fall over the edge in some places. Here we have a little sign to invite you to the garden tour, and behind it we have a number of pots of pink geraniums, actually salmon color, and then hiding under the walkway are my Christmas cactus. They love it there in the summertime in the shade. And then I take them in when they start to bud. And then we have a group of pentas, red and pink. And then coming up is the herb garden with the little bee trellis in front of it. And then if we go to our left here with the frog, it's guarding the vegetable garden, where I have tomatoes and peppers and a few cucumbers. And then this large group of zinnias are all reseeds. They just come back each year. I have to go around through them, of course, and thin them out, because they are so thick when they first come up. Okay, we have a large pot of ruffled petunias. Those are what I call a rescue from Lowe's. You go around to the discount counter and see what you see that looks like it might thrive when you bring it home. And then we have a hanging basket with Dependilia. That one is a red, and we have a little stream here that with lots of frogs, and then we have bougainvillea and 2 honeysuckles. Okay, this is one of your little calabacoas. It's interesting how some of them are tough. This one is 3 years old, dies back, comes back the next spring. I've had others that I planted this year, and they've quit blooming. Don't know why. And then we have, I have 2 rain barrels. I have one there and one then over at the other corner. And these pots have some calabacoas in them. And then different Gerber daisies have a small orange one that's blooming right now. And then we have more rescue petunias, pink and purple. And Snow White and the dwarfs are taking care of them. Okay, here in front of the swing set we have some hibiscus, and right behind them we have what a lot of people call princess plant. It's also a flower that you'll find available in the bunches at the store and lasts longer than any other flower. Here on the other side of the swing we have more pots with some beautiful trailing verbena in a pink and white, and then a small down below we have a small succulent. Here in front of us we have a rose garden with a dozen different ones and this rose garden, which is the drift roses, was planted in memory of my late husband. Here in the shade we have a number of coleus and also some begonias. They both like the shade, and right behind that is a compost bin, and above that is my bluebird house, which of course is empty right now. I like hummingbirds, so I have several yard art that has hummingbirds on it. And we're panning around so that we're going to come back past the pergola. Okay, here in this corner we have a large hosta and fern garden. Early in the spring I have other things that bloom, the bleeding heart, and some of these also are there's a shrimp plant right there, pink shrimp plant. And this is, usually think of shrimp plant as being yellow or orange. And then this large hosta in the middle with all the blooms is praying hands. If you notice how the leaves are folded up together. That was a gift that was about 6 inches high in 2011, and I need to split it because it's grown so much. And then right in front at the edge I have a few purslane that opened this time of day. And so on the here on the arbor we have a clematis, which is bell-shaped in a shade of purple. And then on the other side of the trellis we have a baptisia, and then we have the sedum or sedum that is starting to bloom, and down below in the front we have the coreopsis, or some people call it tick seed, and I have several colors of it. And then we have a coneflower bed, and in front of the orange one we have one of my signs which has the botanical name and then the common name and then the actual name of that particular plant. And those signs were introduced to the master gardeners by Mike Payne, who had them in his garden, and we started, some of us, ordering them. They are made of stainless steel, and you can use the like the little Brother printing machine and print off your labels, and then you can recycle the signs if the plant doesn't survive. And that's a black and blue salvia. And then we have a group of verbena. The first one, of course, is the most common, the Homestead Purple. And then we have pink, and we have red, and we have magenta. And then we have some that are variegated, that are purple and white, and more that are lavender and white. And this is another variety of verbena. Some people call it lollipop. Behind it are some cannas, and then the Angelonia in purple. And I have moved some of the lollipops back to the fence. Probably will move this large one later. You know, master gardeners are known for, instead of moving the furniture in their house, they move the plants in their garden. And then I have a lot of different colors of the autumn sage. And some of them are blooming now. We have a few red blooms and pink blooms. The one that is next to the fence that's not blooming right now is lipstick. And next to it is one of my water hoses. I have 3 of those. They work like this cord on your vacuum cleaner. You pull it out to where you want it, and when you get through, you release it, and it winds back up into the case. And then we have, of course, a large display of the golden verbena. This one's perennial. It comes back every year. And here in front of us we have a garden bench in the shade with stepping stones leading up to the stream. The stream is 18 feet long, and it was designed by me, installed by a master gardener, Matt Hines. And the rocks around it with the holes in it are called Holy Rock. They came from my property where I lived at in Texas. They are made by the limestone, water running through the limestone underneath the ground, and each rock is however the water runs. Up next to the flamingo is a seahorse. I call it a seahorse. And down in the middle of the stream is a fish. And those are just exactly like they were found underneath the ground. When we move down the side of the stream, we have a number of yard art. We have a frog and a snail and a scorpion. And those were all made by some of the students that were working on the at the school doing welding in Georgia, and were brought to the expo. And we're standing underneath a red bud. The leaves are red, that's the reason. And it is pansy, forest pansy. And then down below we have another shade garden, but right in front of the shade garden we have 3 pots of purslane. I really like the purslane. You buy a pot full in the spring, and then you break the sprigs off and keep planting it all year long, and by the end of the season you have it hanging down over the edge of the rocks. In the background are my peonies, which of course have all bloomed for this year. And then up behind them is another group of the native azaleas.